What's up everyone, welcome to the video. We are here breaking down the Ambetter, I'm not really sure what it is, but they don't pay me either way to get it correctly. So we're just gonna roll with the Ambetter 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's a short flat track this weekend, so probably not going to be the most exciting race, especially coming off the Atlanta race, which just had about anything you can ask for. We had wrecks, we had pack racing, we had guys like Corley Joy up front battling for the win at the end of the race. Really entertaining from a fan standpoint. So going to New Hampshire this weekend might be a bit of a letdown, but these tracks, these short flat tracks, tend to be a lot more projectable so far this year. So I am looking forward to that from a DFS perspective. But anyway, this race will take place on Sunday, July 17th around 3 or 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you are brand new to the channel, my name is Pennell. I break down the NASCAR DFS slate each and every single weekend on this channel. You can also find me live on Sunday mornings or afternoons. I'm thinking around 11 or 12 p.m. Eastern tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this on Sunday, to break down the entire slate, answer any questions you guys may end up having. So come in, say hi, hang out, always a good time before the race starts. And you can also find me over on Osmo, or better known as Stochastic these days, doing their Live Before Lock show with Jason Floyd. And I'm also writing the tournament articles over on their website if you ever want to check those out. And if you do end up enjoying today's free content, all I ask in return is just a small favor. If you can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out whenever I post new content or go live on Sundays. And feel free to leave a comment down below, agreeing or disagreeing with anything I say throughout the duration of today's video. Or if you want to tell me hi or I suck, you are free to do that as well. And if we could once again get over 300 plus likes on this weekend's video, you guys kill it each and every single weekend. So for real, thank you. I truly do appreciate it. Every little bit goes a long way in YouTube algo to get it to more eyeballs. The more eyeballs will see this, it helps us all out in the process. So I do appreciate it. And please don't forget to check out the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks, that do make these videos possible. And you can use promo code CPEN to get that free instant deposit match bonus up to $100. There's no strings attached. There's free money. Use it to your advantage. Either use the link down below or head over to prizepicks.com, where you can download the App Store or over on Google Play. If you don't live in a legal betting state, this is kind of the way around it to bet on props. I do it each and every single day and each and every single weekend with baseball and NASCAR. It's very fun to play over, and I really do enjoy it on the dominator type races because they tend to underproject a lot of the drivers that I think have a good chance to pick up a lot of dominator points. So check it out, prizepicks.com. Use the link down below. But with that being said, I think that'll be it for the plugs. Let's get right into the preview of this weekend's race. And as previously mentioned, this is the Ambetter 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. There's your outline of the track. Kind of looks like a bigger paper clip. It's a short flat track, very similar to Phoenix, Richmond, Gateway. And you could also throw in Martinsville as the other short flat track, although that one's a little bit more unique. And we have 301 laps this weekend, which means a good chunk of dominator points, right around 210 to be exact. So we're going to need multiple dominators per lineup this weekend, at least 2 per lineup, and you can probably stretch that to 3. But do not just completely chase place differential. We've seen a lot of times so far this year where the drivers have a tough time passing at these shorter flat tracks. Obviously, if you're really fast and you happen to go to the rear or something, they're going to be able to move up through the field. But we've seen a lot of times where it's been a bit followed the leader-ish at the short flat tracks. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. This is mainly a race where we're going to be focusing on dominator points and drivers that can finish well. And yes, I did remember this week, I wanted to shout out the winners from the DraftKings YouTube contest from last weekend. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, host a YouTube league each and every single weekend. If you join, I can put a link down below in the pinned comment, or you can reach out to me on Twitter, or just comment your DK username. I'll be happy to accommodate you either way, but I'd love to have you join the contest. The more people that join, the better the prizes can be. But coming home in first place, taking home the gold, over 120 bucks, we had S. Jones 521, just killing the field there by 10 points. Sports Tail coming in second, still over 100 bucks. Del Kane in third, rounding out the podium. Then rounding out the top 5, we had JD Will 01 in fourth, and then J Stone UK1 rounding out the top 5. So congrats to the winner, and like I said, if you want to join in, all you got to do is join the league and you'll get an invite each and every single weekend. And getting into the driver by driver breakdown portion of things, practice just ended, qualifying just ended, so you're getting my first thoughts on the slate. Obviously, we'll get the more updated things over on the Patreon and on the live stream tomorrow, so quick plug there. If you do want access to the spreadsheet that I post each and every single weekend, there's a lot more that goes to it besides the free preview over on YouTube. Green flag speed, cheat sheet. We have the pit times, the projections for all sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, and over on Prize Picks, the optimizer, ownership projections, Discord chat, which has the best NASCAR DFS community out there. If you want to come in and join, there's a lot more to it. I'll let you read for yourself, but you can hit the link down below right beside the orange button. Yeah, I think you'll find it quite helpful. I'd be more than happy to have you. But anyway, let's get into it. Breaking down the slate, we did just get the updated odds, so things did shift a little bit. Drivers that I thought were going to be real good on Saturday ended up not really being the case. Obviously, some guys ended up doing what I thought they were going to do, but Penske really struggled as a whole. So we'll see what happens here during the race. We'll talk about it. But if you want my overall thoughts on the pricing this weekend, I think they overall did a solid job. We do have over 300 laps this weekend, so yeah, dominant points are going to be abundant. So I do think we should have like 6 drivers that are in the 5-figure range for the most part. Are some drivers a little bit underpriced, some guys a little bit overpriced? Yes, but we will talk about that when we go through it. But we will start up top with Kyle Busch, the most expensive driver over on DraftKings, $11,000 flat. Surprisingly, he qualified 17th, and watching him in practice, I thought he was definitely going to be starting within the top 5, especially the top 10, but we have him right around mid-pack now, so we have some place differential upside, and we have some dominator potential here as well, because if you're looking at what he did in practice, basically stole the show, is the overall fastest once you conglomerate all the numbers together. Second in the 1 lap, in the 5 lap, and then first in the 10, 15, and 20. So he's got a good short run and a long run car here. If you look at his numbers at New Hampshire, they're fine, but I don't really want to look at these too much. I think it's more important to look at what they've done so far in the next gen car at short flat tracks so far this year. And Kyle Busch has been very solid. The second best average finish, one of the best running positions in the top 10 each and every single time. Has some dominant points mixed in there. I feel like he's got more dominant points mixed in at the intermediate tracks, but he's still been fine at these nonetheless. Some of the most DraftKings points per race, sitting inside the top 4 there. Second at Gateway, 7th at Martinsville, 9th at Richmond, and 7th at Phoenix. Starting in 17th, it's hard not to like Kyle Busch, plus he has a good track record at New Hampshire, so he's definitely going to be one of the top options on the slate. And I think you can play him in cash games as well. Again, I have not yet ran projections, have not yet ran ownership, but just kind of eyeballing it. If you can fit him and Truex together, I feel like that's a good correlation because you're playing 2 JGR cars, and obviously there's a lot to like about them. So Busch definitely going to be in a good chunk of my lineups, I'd have to imagine. Joey Logano, $10,800. He is starting in 12th, and look, I thought him and Blaney were going to be 2 of the best cars on Saturday, and that just was not the case. Penske struggled as a whole, and it's not like all the Fords sucked because there were several Fords that looked pretty good in practice. So Penske just as a whole seems to have missed the setup or whatever it may be, but as you can see, some shades of orange and red here. 24th in the 1 lap for Logano, 22nd in the 5, 16th in the 10, and 11th in the 15. It was very surprising because if you're looking at the short flat tracks so far this year, he won at Gateway, 2nd at Martinsville, 17th at Richmond, and 8th at Phoenix. He's got some of the overall best numbers of these track types. Do I think he's going to be a 20th place car in this race? No, he's got some decent track position to work with. It's just, for 5 spots further back, Kyle Busch showed me a lot more speed on Saturday's session. So I'm going to have a tough time getting to too much Joey. Like, I really thought I was going to like Team Penske, but thank goodness for practice, because if we didn't have practice, it would have been very disappointing because I feel like I would have been very heavy on Penske. So I can't full fade them just because of how good they've been at the short flats this year, and maybe they make some adjustments to where they end up looking really good during the race. Do I think that's the probable scenario? Probably not, but I think that is something you have to prepare for a little bit, but definitely going to be a lot lower on Penske than I anticipated. I even threw my Ryan Blaney shirt because I thought we were going to have some good things to say about these guys. Just doesn't really seem like it's going to be the case this weekend, but not a full fade for me, but probably going to end up being underweight. But again, not yet running projections, not yet running ownership. We'll see where that kind of lines up. Denny Hamlin, $10,600. He is starting in 14th, a very poor practice session. Another guy that kind of surprised with how bad he was. 21st in the 1 lap, 29th in the 5 lap. Some overall very good numbers at New Hampshire. Always, every single time at a short flat track, you have to have some interest in Denny Hamlin. But outside of kind of lucking into a win at Richmond, he just hasn't really been that great at them so far this year. 34th at Gateway, had some issues there though. 20th at Martinsville, he was just trash during that race. Like I said, kind of backed into a win at Richmond, got lucky there. Definitely wasn't the best car. Then 13th at Phoenix, if you're looking at the overall numbers, that's a average running position around 19, same for his average finish. I would much rather play his teammates. I'd rather get the Christopher Bell at a cheaper price point, rather play Busch, rather play Truex, so probably won't be too heavy on Denny Hamlin this weekend. Then moving on to his teammate, Martin Truex Jr., $10,400. He's starting on the pole, and I'd say there's a lot to like this weekend about Truex because he's excellent at the short flat tracks. He's actually showed some promise at a couple of them so far this year. Obviously had an issue at Phoenix and sucked at Martinsville with his teammate Denny Hamlin, but he was really good at Richmond. And he was very good at Gateway, honestly one of the best cars. Could have won that race, really. And his pit crew has been very solid this year, which should help him maintain position throughout the race. And obviously he has the best pit stall, so that's definitely something to consider because we've seen at the short flat tracks this year, A lot of these races, either one on pit road or that's how you're gaining spots for the most part. So having that best pit stall is definitely going to work in Truex's favor. Plus, they've been pretty fast so far this year, and he's been great at New Hampshire. Practice speeds, I wouldn't say they were like top shelf from Truex. Was 5th in the one lap and then 11th, 8th, and 7th. But that track position for the race is definitely going to be very important. So Truex, if you're playing cash games, I'd throw him in there because there's a decent chance he could lead a lot of laps in this race, especially early on. Then Chase Elliott, $10,300. He is starting in second. Both these guys are tied for the favorites to win this race. I think DraftKings just looked at who was starting in the front row and threw him in there. But some good track position here for Elliott. Obviously, his pit crew's been solid this year as well. But starting in second, not a lot of people are going to go to him and Truex together because you can easily mix in Truex with a couple PD plays. I'm not sure if you can fit in Chastain and Kyle Busch together, but I'm sure people will try to do that if you can. I would not mind that at all. But using the 1-2 here at 10K plus, I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. So I think Elliott's a fine pivot in tournaments. Looking at some of his numbers so far this year at the short flat tracks. Overall, pretty solid DraftKings wise, 55.4 DraftKings points per race. Only one top 10 to show for it, but I'd say the finishes are a little bit noisy there. He has one of the better average running positions, has some of the most laps led and fast laps, had a great race in Martinsville, ended up finishing 10th in that race, but he was definitely not the 10th best car. Starting in second, like I said, he's a fine pivot off of Truex. Would not go to Elliott in cash games, but in tournaments, I want to get some exposure there because I think there's a decent chance at some point he's able to get up front and pick up some laps led. Ryan Blaney rounding out the 5-figure group here, $10,000, the most expensive driver over on FanDuel. He's starting at 11th, and I mean, he's been the fastest driver green flag speed-wise at short flats this year. He's been great at short flats in general the past couple seasons. And then he just stunk it up in practice with his teammates. We're talking mid-20s here for the 1 and 5, and then 13th and 12th in the 10 and 15, which, like, do I think he's going to completely suck during the race? No, but at these price points, him and Logano, they got to get up front or contend for top 3s, top 5s with fast laps, and they just didn't really show me that they have the speed to do that. Like I said, they could have completely dismissed the setup and then make some adjustments for the race tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. He's obviously good at New Hampshire, great at short flats, 4th, 7th, and 4th. Like I said, best green flag speed numbers. He's got the best average finish, best running position, best drive rating, the most top 5s, the second most laps led. Like, it's hard not to like Blaney. It's just the problem is, and he was really slow in practice. And we've seen that a lot of times where it just translates during the race, and it's not like he has premium track position as well. So, going to be lower than I thought on Ryan Blaney. It's unfortunate, but I just got to trust the numbers, even though I want to be biased and play Blaney, but we've seen a lot of times where Penske is fast when they show speed in practice, and then they aren't when they don't, and it's just one of those cases where it looks like they might just miss the setup this weekend. Then dropping down to the 9K range, Ross Chastain starting in 18th, $9,800. Didn't light it up in practice, but we've seen time and time again where Ross Chastain's good just about everywhere. Don't care about his New Hampshire numbers because a lot of those were in inferior equipment. 8th at Gateway, 5th at Martinsville, 19th at Richmond, 2nd at Phoenix. Some of the overall best numbers, no matter what kind of track type we are at this year. He's below 10K, starting mid-pack with Kyle Busch. I think he's an excellent option in any format here. No problem at all with him whatsoever. Kyle Larson, $9,600, kind of a weird spot for Larson to be in. I don't think anyone would have expected Larson to be priced cheaper than Ross Chastain heading into the season, but that's just where we are. But he did have a very solid practice session, 4th across the board for the 1, 5, and 10 lap, then 5th in the 15, and not many drivers ran 20 and 25, so yes, he was 2nd and 1st, but hard to really compare that to when not a lot of the top drivers ran those that many laps in practice. But short flat tracks, not really Kyle Larson's bread and butter. He is fine at New Hampshire, though, has a couple top 5s, a few top 10s, not really a lap leader, but does have some fast laps mixed in there. Looking at his numbers so far this year at similar tracks, 12th at Gateway, 19th at Martinsville, 5th at Richmond, then had an issue at Phoenix, but it's weird. It's not really a guy that I expect to roster too much of short flats, but I do like the speed that he showed, and he does have a decent track record at New Hampshire, so I don't mind playing a little bit of Larson, but I will find myself probably landing more so on Chastain and William Byron at similar price points. William Byron, speaking of him, $9,400. Larson's teammate starting in 6th. Doesn't have a great track record at New Hampshire, but like I said, I don't really care too much about track history. What I care about is what I saw in practice and what I've seen at similar tracks so far this year in the next-gen car. And William Byron was arguably the best car in practice, him and Kyle Busch. 1st in the 1 and 5 lap, and then 3rd in the 10 lap. Has some good track position to work with to start the race, and he, looking at his numbers at similar tracks this year, 19th at Gateway, 1st at Martinsville, killed that race, 3rd at Richmond, 18th at Phoenix, and overall some really solid numbers here. Kind of propped up by what he did at Martinsville because he scored like 140 points. So if you take that away, those numbers do come down quite a bit, but it happens, so we can't completely rule it out. And obviously, maybe we see a similar scenario this time around. Don't really see what he did at Martinsville here at New Hampshire, but Byron's definitely on my radar. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there in cash games, but he was fast enough to, I think, consider it. And it's what I kind of did at Martinsville, where a lot of people played the PD plays, even they didn't show as much speed, and then they kind of bypassed William Byron, even though he was super fast and he was starting inside the top 5 or something like that. So it could be a similar scenario this weekend, but I want to get a lot of exposure to William Byron because he looks like he's got a really fast car this weekend. Then Christopher Bell, $9,100. He is starting in 5th. Didn't show top speed in practice, but he is very good at the short flat tracks. And I thought he qualified a little bit better than what I expected. But New Hampshire, arguably his best track. He's dominated several times in the Xfinity Series. Obviously knows his way around this track. It's just, oddly enough, he's been better at the intermediates than he's been at the short flats so far this year, which is kind of opposite of what you'd expect from Christopher Bell. So that's something to keep in mind. But I'm still going to play him in tournaments. He does have good track position to start with. I do worry about his pit team, though. He has Bubba Wallace's pit crew. They swapped, so that could obviously be some concerns. And while it wasn't a Bubba guy from last weekend, he still had an issue last week, and that seems to happen a lot for Christopher Bell. So that is something to keep in mind, but he finished top 10 at Gateway and top 10 at Richmond as well. Dropping down to the 8K range, we have Kevin Harvick, $8,800. He's someone that I have a lot of interest in on both sites this weekend, especially cheap over on FanDuel at only $8,200. He is excellent at New Hampshire, some of the overall best numbers, 2-time winner here the past 6 races, and the top 10 all but once, and the top 5 all but 2 times. And he was pretty strong in practice, 9th in the 1 lap, 10th in the 5, 7th in the 10, and then 2nd in the 15. Has a really good long run car in my opinion after looking over some of the practice numbers, and that's not good news for the field usually. So I like Kevin Harvick quite a bit. He's been great at the short flats this year, top 5 in green flag speed. He was also first at one of the races this year. I think it might have been Phoenix or it might have been Richmond, but both similar tracks there. Had an issue at Gateway, and then Martinsville, not really a great Kevin Harvick track anyway. So 2nd at Richmond and 6th at Phoenix definitely stand out to me quite a bit. And if you look at the numbers of the short flats this year, not a guy you'd expect to dominate, but he can definitely pick up some fast laps along the way. And he should be running top 10, top 8 for the majority of the day. So I do like Kevin Harvick quite a bit. Tyler Reddick, $8,600. He is starting in 13th. Didn't really impress me in practice. Kind of in the 20s there for the 1 and 5 lap, 15th in the 10, then 9th in the 15. If you're looking at his numbers at New Hampshire, it's a very small sample size, so I don't want to put anything really into it too much, but not terrible. But if you're looking at the short flats this year, 16th, 18th, 12th, and 3rd, like he has upside, but since he already has that win under his belt, I just feel like Reddick, we don't have to roster as much because he's not going to be as aggressive going for that win since he doesn't really have to sell it anymore for it. So I'm not a huge fan of Reddick here. I'd much rather play Kevin Harvick. He's fine in tournaments, but I probably won't end up having much exposure to him at all. Chase Briscoe, $8,400. He's starting in 29th. Again, looking past these numbers because it's a very small sample size, but he was very fast in practice. 3rd in the 1 lap, 3rd in the 5, and then 2nd in the 10. He's won at a short flat track earlier this season at Phoenix. He has finishes of 9th, 11th, and 1st. Obviously a Gateway where he was on the pole. Was going to lead pretty much the first stage, ended up having a flat tire, killed his day, couldn't overcome that. But if you take that out of the equation, we're talking about a driver with like an average finish of around, I don't know, quick math, maybe like 6 or 7. So he's definitely been very solid. He's averaging 43.6 DraftKings points per race at them. Like I said, has the win, a couple of top 10s mixed in there. Starting all the way back in 29th, it's probably going to be tough to pass, but over the course of the race, we're not playing Briscoe to dominate. We're playing him for basically a top 15. I definitely think that's in the cards because he seems to have a really good car this weekend. Kurt Busch, $8,200. He is starting in 3rd. Disappointed in practice, but he does have some good track position to work with. And at the short flat tracks this year, Kurt's actually been very solid. Outside of his race at Richmond where he had issues, 3rd at Gateway, 6th at Martinsville, and then 5th at Phoenix. So it's kind of one of those things where, similar to the Penske cars where they really sucked in practice, they've also been really good at similar tracks this year. But Kurt Busch did qualify well. And it's not like we're paying Kurt Busch to really dominate. I mean, starting in 3rd, it wouldn't hurt for him to dominate, but if he can kind of ride around the top 5, pick up fast laps along the way, and some of these PD plays don't hit, Kurt Busch could definitely become viable. Eric Almirola, $8,100. He is starting in 7th. Any single time on a short flat track, you have to have interest in Almirola. I do prefer him over Kurt Busch if you had to pick between the two. Showed some more speed in practice. He won the most recent race at New Hampshire. You got to keep in mind some of the top cars got knocked out, like Truex, Kyle Busch, and I think Denny Hamlin got mixed up in there as well. It was just a JGR disaster, really, if you guys don't remember what happened with the rain. But Almirola was top 10 across the board in practice, starting in 7th. You have a little bit more leeway there. He's got a couple top 5s here in New Hampshire and finishes at 5th, 8th, 21st, and 12th at the short flats this year. So you can definitely get behind Almirola. And if he wants to punch his ticket to the playoffs, this might be his best chance to do it outside of a super speedway. Dropping down to the 7K range, we have Daniel Suarez at $7,900. Starting in 19th, kind of practice right around there. Looking at the short flat tracks in general this year, haven't exactly been amazing for him. We did have that top 10 finish at Phoenix, but then 16th, 29th, 23rd. I'm not excited about Suarez. If whatever he lands into your lineups, I'd be happy with, but I feel like I'd rather get to guys like Almirola personally. And then I feel like Bowman has similar upside as far as finishing position is concerned as compared to Suarez, and he starts 8 spots further back, so I feel like I'd just rather go with that. So I'm not going to be super high on Suarez this weekend. Bowman wasn't very fast in practice, but he did show top 20 speeds, and he's really cheap this weekend. He's starting near 30th, so if you want to play him in cash games, I don't have a problem with that. Does have an average finish of 12.3 at New Hampshire, and typically always inside the top 15, and he's also got finishes of 13th, 12th, 8th, and 14th at short flat tracks this year. So at his price point, if he can just hit his averages, that is not going to kill you at all. I mean, averaging 42 DraftKings points per race and average finish inside the top 12 at the short flats this year. So that would definitely get the job done for me starting in 27th. It might not be a bad idea to be underweight in tournaments because he didn't really show a ton of speed, but the price point's hard not to like for a Hendrick car. Austin Cindric, $7,600 starting in 28th. Absolutely sucked in practice. Was third in the 20 lap, but you gotta keep in mind only 3 cars ran that. And then 15, again, not as many cars ran that. So 28, 27, 19th. Probably going to be battling for a top 20 in this race, in my opinion. But short flats really aren't his worst track type by any means. Did finish 11th the past 2 at them. 11th at Gateway, 11th at Martinsville, then 20th, 24th at Richmond and Phoenix. I like where he's starting, but I do have my concerns with Penske as they were awful during practice. Bubba Wallace, $7,400. Both the 23-11 cars are going to be starting in the second row here. It's kind of the max for Bubba where I'd be playing him. It's not like he showed like first or second speed in practice. Was 4th in the 15, then 11th, 7th, and 9th in the other 1, 5, and 10 lap run. So I think he's going to move back. He's definitely a tournament flyer. But when you have guys like Cindric and Bowman starting so many further spots back, and honestly, Bowman could finish right around where where Bubba Wallace does by the end of the race. So probably won't get to a lot of Bubba at that starting position, but he is a tournament flyer, not someone I completely write off, because if Toyota happens to be fast during this race, as I always say, you can't rule out Bubba Wallace because he is in good equipment, and obviously his teammate Kurt Busch qualified well too. So definitely something to keep in mind, but you do have to be careful with that starting position. And then dropping down to a driver that I feel like I'm going to be on quite a bit this week, and it's Eric Jones, $7,300 on DraftKings, starting in 22nd. Didn't get too much out of practice from him, but in the short stints we saw, 14th in the 1 lap and then 6th in the 5 lap, so I do like that. And if we're looking at what he's done at short flats this year, 7th at Gateway, 13th at Martinsville, wasn't great at Richmond or Phoenix, but I like what I saw from Gateway, and I do think we're going to see a lot of similarities from Gateway to New Hampshire this weekend, and if that's going to be the case, Eric Jones definitely going to be my radar here. AJ Allmendinger at $7,100 feels a bit expensive for him in my opinion. 15th in the 1 lap, 24th in the 5 lap. He was very good at Gateway, I will give him that, so I can't completely dismiss him as he did finish 10th there. But at a similar price point, I feel a lot better with Jones starting 2 spots further back and showed me some more speed in practice as well, so probably not going to be a big fan of Dinger here at that price point. If he was in the lower 6K range, I'd say it's fine, but at $7,100, it's kind of pricey. Over on FanDuel, looks like a better play there at $4,000. Dropping down to the 6K range, we have Brad Keselowski, $6,100. He's starting in 9th, and if you were looking specifically at track history, you would think this is the easiest play in the world because, yeah, he kills New Hampshire in the top 10 almost all the time. Does have a win here, some of the most laps led, one of the best running positions. I mean, it's dark shades of green, but that was in Penske equipment. But practice was good for him. I mean, RFK looks pretty fast this weekend. 8th in the 1 lap, 14th in the 15th, and 12th in the 10th. And at a below 7K price point, I realize he's starting inside the top 10, but I definitely think he can kind of hang around there. And maybe if he has a really good race, he could improve upon that. I realize his finishes haven't been exactly amazing this year at the short flats, 20th, 17th, 13th, and 23rd. But New Hampshire specifically has always been a very strong track for him. So starting inside the top 10, and they show some speed in practice this weekend, I think that makes him viable for tournaments. Then Ricky Stenhouse Jr., like if people are going to play Ricky over Brad Keselowski this weekend, be my guest, but I don't want any part of Stenhouse at a flat track this year. I mean, just it's been a trend, and I kind of caught on to it early on, but at the short flats, he has been absolutely awful. He always qualifies in the back, and then people want to play him because he's in the back, but he sucks in practice, 32nd across the board for the 1 and 5, and then 24th in the 10 lap. But if you're looking at what he's done at short flat tracks, specifically this year, it's awful. And it's not like he has incidences where it's like killing his race. He's just flat out slow. 32nd at Gateway, 27th at Martinsville, 20th at Richmond, 20th at Phoenix. I feel like he's going to finish around 25th to 28th. It's kind of been his landing spot. And if you're looking at the 4 races overall, average finish of 28.8, running position of 27.4. Like, he just sucks at flat track. So if he's going to have any ownership at all, I want to be under on that. I'd rather play Keselowski. I'd probably rather play McDowell, for being honest, and several other drivers. So Stenhouse is going to be a no for me. If he bites me, whatever, I'll take the L there. But the numbers would suggest that Stenhouse is just a complete fade at short flat tracks. Even though he's good at New Hampshire, 4 top 15s, relatively good, I should say. But he's been awful this year in the next gen car at the flat tracks. So I'll just stick with the trends there. Michael McDowell, $6,500, starting in 15th. Very slow as well, similar to Stenhouse. Looking at his numbers at the short flats in general, 18th at Gateway, which was nice. And after that, it's been pretty rough. I'm not really a fan of either of these drivers. We'll have very low ownership on both of them. Austin Dillon, on the other hand, $6,300. He is starting all the way back in 30th. If you're playing cash games, I definitely think a lot of people are going to go there, but I do have my concerns with the speed he showed in practice. And his teammate Tyler Reddick wasn't that great either, but 29th in the 1 lap, 28th in the 5 lap. And it was kind of odd because I expected some good things out of Dillon, because of the short flats this year, he's been very good relative to his price point. 15th at Gateway, 3rd at Martinsville, 10th at Richmond. Wasn't great at Phoenix, but he was 21st. And if you're looking at the 4 races put all together, I mean, you're going to see some nice shades of green here compared to most of these drivers down low. So it's kind of tough to know what to do with Dillon. I think if we're playing cash games, it's fine to slide him in, because I don't think he's going to ride around 30th. But I mean, if the practice speeds translate to the race, you might be really frustrated rostering Dillon, because you might just be stuck between 25th and 30th for the majority of the day. And obviously track position is pretty important at these types of tracks, and passing isn't exactly easy. So could end up being a trap play with some high ownership. So that's something to keep in mind. Chris Buescher, I think, is an excellent pivot in tournaments. $6,100, starting in 16th. If you like BK this week, you should like some Chris Buescher, because their teammates, obviously similar equipment, so they're probably going to have similar speeds. And Buescher, 7th in the 1 lap in practice, 8th in the 5 lap, sucks in the 10 lap though, but I'm willing to give him a pass there. And at the short flats this year, he's not been bad at all. 15th at Martinsville, 15th at Richmond, 10th at Phoenix. Didn't run the Gateway race. I believe it was due to COVID, but some similar numbers to Austin Dillon, but at least he backed it up in practice. I know he's starting 14 spots further up, so there is inherent risk there. But at tracks where it's going to be hard to pass, that we're probably going to see in New Hampshire this weekend, he's definitely a nice candidate for tournaments compared to playing a driver like Austin Dillon. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. Dropping down to the 5K range, Justin Haley starting in 25th. He's $5,900. 16th in the 1 lap in practice, 15th in the 5 lap. Looking at the short flat track numbers this year, was 14th at Gateway. Besides that, hasn't been exactly great. Did finish 17th at Phoenix, but then finishes at 31st and 29th at Richmond. He's fine for where he started and where he's priced, but I'm not super excited about Haley. But if he lands in my lineup, it's fine. Cole Custer starting 23rd. The Stewart-Haas cars seem to have some speed this weekend. Even Custer was top 20 in practice, 19th in the 1 lap, 17th in the 5 lap. And if you're looking at his New Hampshire numbers, obviously it's a very small sample size, but with 2 top 15 finishes, but hasn't exactly been great overall at the short flats this year. But it seems like Stewart-Haas has some speed this weekend, so I don't hate the idea of getting some Custer in tournaments. Corey LaJoie is starting too high for me to have any interest. I'm just not going to go there. Ty Dillon's going to be pretty popular this weekend, $5,400, starting second to last and 35th. He is always a cheap DFS darling. He seems to always hit for value. 18th in practice, 16th in the 5 lap. Fell off a little bit, but we're not talking about a driver we need to get a top 10 or anything. If he just moves up 5 to 10 spots, we will be happy at this price point as long as we can nail the dominators up top. Finishes of 27th, 23rd, 24th, and 15th at the short flats. While not impressive, at his price point where he's starting, you will take that. So Ty Dillon, fine play in all formats. If you don't play him in cash games, go for it, but definitely has a risk of going laps down for sure. Harrison Burton, $5,200, starting in 31st. He showed a lot of speed in practice. 13th in the 1 and 5 lap, 6th in the 10 and 15. Do I think he's going to run that well during the race? Probably not, but if you want to pivot off of him from Dillon because he showed more speed, I'm okay with it. They both have some pretty similar numbers as far as the short flat tracks go. Obviously, Harrison Burton being a rookie, Ty Dillon with more experience, that could always pay off, so it's something to keep in mind. Also, Ty Dillon's running the Xfinity race right now as we're speaking, so maybe that helps him during the race. I'm not sure. I'm kind of grasping at straws of how to play these guys that are cheap, but Dillon will be the chalk. Burton starting at 31st will definitely have some ownership, but I don't think it's going to be as high as Ty Dillon. Gilliland, $5,100 starting at 26th, slow in practice, probably going to be slow during the race. Did finish 22nd at Gateway, 19th at Phoenix, but probably going to have some things go wrong for other drivers for him to improve upon his position, so I'd rather play Burton or Ty Dillon personally. Cody Ware, I will never play. BJ McLeod, I won't as well. Balicki, no thank you. JJ Yaley, maybe, but 34th in practice on the 1 and 5 lap, starting in 33rd. If he was starting dead last, I would consider it, but he finished 34th in Martinsville. I'm not going to do it. Really, the lowest I'd want to go is Harrison Burton this weekend. But with that being said, I think that's going to do it for this weekend's video. So if you watched it all the way through, do appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments below. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you think you're going to keep coming back, as I will be here each and every single weekend breaking down these slates. Go and check out the Patreon for some extra content, articles, projections, ownership, optimizers, a lot more to it, simulation scores, you name it. It's probably on there, my own personal exposures. Check it out if you want. Link can be found down below. And don't forget the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks, because they make these videos possible. And I'm not just showing them because they're paying me to do it. I do enjoy playing over there very, very much. Play on it every single day and every single weekend. Really fun site to play on. You can use code CPEN to get that free instant deposit match bonus up to $100. Take advantage of it, no strings attached. But I'll get out of here. Wish you all the best of luck, and I will see you on the live stream tomorrow around 11:30, 12 o'clock. You'll just check my channel. You know when I'm going live.